Welcome to This Week in Warframe, a series where I keep you updated on the past week of Warframe, from announcements made by DE that don't necessarily warrant their own videos to community fan art posts and updates. So without further ado, let's go over D's announcements and news from the 2nd of September to the 8th. Starting off, we have the developer workshop for Nezha's Revisit. This is an overview of what will be happening to Nezha in the upcoming weeks, as they do plan to release the Nezha Deluxe Collection with that of this revisit. So starting it off, her health will be seeing an increase from 225 to that of 375, and her shields will be decreasing from 225 to that of 150. Now as for her first ability, Firewalker, it will be changed from a channeling ability to that of duration based. It will also have an animation change to a small hop that won't restrict your movement. As for Blazing Chakram, the second ability, the cast animation will be sped up, and it will no longer restrict the movement of the player. Enemies will also have a chance to be marked, and upon doing so, killing the marked enemy will provide healing orbs that drop on the ground, and it will also have a chance to drop energy orbs as well. Now, while the enemy is marked, it will also be susceptible to more damage. They'll also increase the number of targets the disc can hit before recalling, and they've also added a charge throw to it. Apparently they really love adding charged abilities to Warframes now, and upon charging and throwing the Chakram, it'll go directly straight instead of bouncing off of enemies. It'll go straight out and come back towards the player, dealing extra damage. And they've also made it so teleporting will no longer cancel Firewalker. Now as for Warding Halo, we will be receiving a custom counter for the HUD. It's what you're seeing on screen, and it will show how much of the absorbed damage is left over. There will also be a significant change to the damage reduction that Warding Halo provides, that being that it will now be a 90% of damage taken reducted instead of a complete 100%. Now, it will still block status effects and other procs, so this seems to be a rather minor change. They've also made it so the damage absorption invulnerability phase will begin as soon as you cast the ability, and the animation will also be sped up. They've also increased the incoming damage multiplier during the invulnerability phase, and it will scale off of power strength. And the final change to Warding Halo listed in the dev workshop is that of adding an AoE heat status effect blast that will affect enemies nearby for a short period of time, as well as giving you invulnerability. And then we have Divine Spears, which, just like every other ability, seems to be getting an animation speed up, as well as removing the mandatory slam at the end of the spear's duration, which would be prioritized over everything else. And they're also adding a second Chakram that can spawn upon spearing a marked enemy, and that second Chakram will fly off and hit a nearby enemy. Now this is just a developer workshop, it can be changed before it's released. They are planning for it to be released next week alongside the Nezha Deluxe Collection, which I mentioned beforehand. So if you want to get some feedback into the devs, make sure to do it on the Developer Workshop forum post. A link to that, as well as everything else that I've talked about here today, will be in the description down below. Next up is the official date for Devstream 116. That will be Friday, September 14th. So that'll be next week. Look forward to that. Now for PC players, we received update 23.7, which brought us 4 new augments. Those are Fagara, Cora, Octavia, and Wukong. Fagara, it's Mending Splinters. This augment provides the player with health regeneration, that of 3 health per second, when your Splinter Storm is affecting an enemy. Next up was Accumulating Whipclaw for Cora's Whipclaw ability. Every 3 enemies that you hit will add a stack of 35% extra damage onto your Whipclaw that will decay after 10 seconds. And it scales all the way up to 350%. As for Octavia's Conductor, it's simple. Press the Resonator button again when Resonator's out, and it will move to a new location based on where you were looking. And finally, there's Wukong's Enveloping Cloud, and that allows Wukong to make his teammates that are within a 4-meter radius invisible for 14 seconds. Now, as for the rest of the changes and additions in this update, we received a search bar on the Friends and Clan screen, so you can search for a specific player or user. And they've also added a new timer animation to that of when you're starting into a mission on the mission voting UI. They've also made it so input message boxes have received your theme of UI 3.0. They've also made it so you can now donate multiple resources and decorations to your clan vault, and you will have to type in donate when you're confirming your donation. done the same thing with the UI to that of the consigning pet screen, and just as an added precaution, you'll have to type in your companion's name. They've also removed Grenier commanders from Samaris' daily synthesis missions. They've returned the controller functionality of pressing Y to open the matchmaking drop-down menu when using a controller. The focus conversion screen has also seen the change to the new UI system. They've changed the inventory sell list to show the total price of each of your selected items instead of being an individual item price. And the pause menu UI will now automatically display the first 3 loadout items, that being your Warframe, aura, and then your first whatever weapon you have. Now, as for the fixes in this update and that of Hotfix 23.7.1, they're up on your screen. You can read them here or you can check them out on the forum post. Now, for console players, both PS4 and Xbox One, you guys are getting update 23.5 whenever it finishes in certification. Now, if you want to know exactly what you're getting within this update when it does go live, make sure to head over to the forum post, read it there. But to go over the essentials of it, you'll be receiving the Mask of the Lost One mini quest, which means you're getting Revenant, the Phantasma, and the armor set. You'll be receiving the new Tier 4 amp components, Frame Fighter, Tennogen as well, but only parts of it. So the Tennogen specifics, you'll be receiving Excalibur Ronin, Loki Kadama, Nova Corpora, Necros Grax, and Zephyr Strafe, as well as the Blade of the Lotus Rhino skin, Oberon skin, Banshee, and Trinity, and then the Excalibur Exaltation screen. At the moment, you'll be eventually receiving the rest of Tennogen Round 13 in a future update. If you want to know why that is the reason, there's a post in the description as well as on the screen that just outlines all of that shit. Now, you will also be receiving the Vauban Deluxe Collection alongside his Vauban changes, so you'll get his new passive, which is to deal 25% extra damage to that of incapacitated enemies, the Hold to Charge Tesla change, and Repelling Bastille, pushing enemies outwards every 4 seconds. You're also getting new dojo decorations, new noggles, as well as more changes and fixes. So, yeah, well, as I said beforehand, if you want to know everything and the specifics, check out the post in the description. Now, moving on to developer tweets. So first off, Rhino will be receiving a HUD icon indicator for that of his Iron skin. And then, according to Pablo on his Twitter, we'll be able to see what we have actually donated into our clan's treasury. We'll see what resources we have in there, how much we have, as well as our credits. You can see the preview of what he's talking about on the screen. It is just an early mock-up, so take that as you may. Now, back to the first topic, which was the Nezha revisit. Should have put this in at the start, but whatever. Apparently, to Pablo once again, the Blazing Chakram Augment will be the only augment that will be seeing changes, and it will be changing to something of extra health orbs based on how many enemies you hit. Moving on to Rebecca's tweet, Revenant changes are still being worked on and being made, and because we didn't get it this week, they're probably coming next week or the week after that, so look forward to some changes to Revenant. We then have a question and a reply from Steve on Twitter. The question was adding individual lights to that of our dojos. Steve replies, it can happen, it just will take some time, so hopefully we'll get something like that. Now, I won't be doing fan art this week, so that concludes this week in Warframe. Thank you for watching. If you think I can improve upon the series in any way, shape, or form, make sure to leave it in a comment down below, as well as your thoughts on any of the changes. And if you missed out on last week's episode, there is an annotation on the screen that will take you right to it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.